So now we are going to have Timothy. He's going to be giving a presentation on storytelling with Google Speech to Text. I'm super excited about his presentation, and I hope you guys are too. Whenever you are ready, I've already paused the recording and started it again. So whenever you're ready, you're good to go, Tim.
Okay, you can go ahead and start. Thank you. All right. I feel self-serving, but I'm going to spotlight myself right now. Okay, so guys, thank you for coming. I'm going to go ahead and start to click on the, how do I share this? Okay, share screen, and it should be this one. Okay, so today I will be presenting on storytelling through Google Speech to Text, but first off, I wanted to thank the guys over at, let me get the name correctly, Iwate-Aomori JALT for making this possible, in particular Rachel and Jason. And also I see a couple of OTJ crew people here right now, so thank you guys for showing up. Warm, fuzzy feelings. So, okay, so today I'll be doing this presentation, and just to go on the next slide, it's going to be about Google Speech to Text and using it in an academic context. I think a lot of you guys are familiar with voice technology and also Google Documents as well, but I'm sort of going to steer the discussion later on to a workshop where I'll give you guys 15 minutes to play around with the technology, but I'll be explaining some of it first. This isn't exactly new technology. I'm not reinventing the wheel, but I'm sort of trying to introduce the wheel, so to speak. But okay, yeah. I'm going to start off also by having a quote here, and it's by, and my pace might be a little bit up and down, so if I'm not on time, please tell me when they hit the timer, okay? All right, so basically, immersion, what immersion has taught us is that comprehensible subject matter teaching is a language teaching. The subject matter class is a language class if it is made comprehensible. In other words, the more that your content is comprehensible and relatable to your students, the more they will possibly be engaged with it. And in that case, true learning will happen. In fact, the subject matter class may even be better than the language class for language acquisition. I guess what Stephen Krashen is referring to as well, if you just teach all about how to do the language and grammar and whatnot, you might be missing the point of it. But yes, okay, continuing onwards. And this is of course is related because you use short stories to sort of have your own say in it. If you make it personalized, and well, that is for your classmates, I guess that's more comprehensible and meaningful because it's something about yourself. All right. So Google Speech to Text is basically a technology. I'm going to gloss over these things really quick. That allows you to, that recognizes your voice and converts speech to text. Also in that regard, text to speech as well. The API or application programming interface is called Google Voice API. It's the software, basically, it's the middleman in between the operating system, if it's Windows or Apple, and the application itself. The application is Google Document and Google Assistant. Google Assistant is an AI-powered virtual assistant that you guys may have seen in maybe commercials. I think they were very popular like 2 years ago, where you pull up your phone and you start talking to it. It's mostly on Android. I think you may have to purposely install it on Apple, but it exists in different forms. The nice thing about Google Assistant is a feature that you can engage in two-way conversations. Google Documents is something that I've been using much more than Microsoft Word now, because the key point is that it's free and it allows you to create and edit files online and collaborating. You can also collaborate with somebody online in real time as well. And later on in your activity, you'll see how awesome it is, like when two people are working on the same document. There are key dates in this type of technology. Just really quickly, when I was a kid, I remember during my formative years, Speak and Spell by Texas Instruments. You had this machine and it was like spitting out, you had to guess what the letters were, and then it would sort of give the output to you. I'm trying to think of teachers in the 80s were like, was this the first iPad? Were they like using this in classroom? Did every student have this? But I thought it was a good starting point for this type of technology. Fast forward 1997, Dragon, naturally speaking software. It was kind of clunky before, but that's where it started to sort of seep itself through word processing, like you would talk and then text would come out. It got more streamlined later on. Of course, that was in 2008, where you had Google voice search technology on your phone. Um, and the fact that it was portable was like a really big deal. Coupled with that, the fact that Google Documents is also something that's free, and Google Assistants, which made it two-way. So I'm all over the place here right now, but what I'm trying to get is that technology like this doesn't happen overnight. In order for it to be something that you can use, I guess, in the classroom, all of these small things have to happen. They're like sort of like puzzles that you fit together. But then when it happens, it's really awesome. And there are probably things right now that we could use in the classroom that in 5 years or so that haven't quite happened yet because they're still waiting for other things to happen. And this was the purpose of my slide. But yes, moving on. How am I for time? Okay. Okay. You guys can sort of, the audio on that is super bad. So I'll send you guys later the PowerPoint. Everybody can watch that for that nostalgic feeling. Okay, so the learning goals of this activity, I would like to accomplish are number one, I want the students to read and talk to each other. That's the number one thing. Number two, I want them to be familiar with voice technology. They know it exists, but how do you use it in their daily lives? Not just with their L1 language, but with their second language, that being English. Number three, I also want them to learn how to tell stories through voice, because if you can get them to just start talking in stories, maybe afterwards they'll start writing the stories as well. But you just have to give them that spark, so to speak. And lastly, have the students aware of the grammar and pronunciation that they need to work on. And later on, when you do the activity, you'll realize that some mistakes will pop on, even for us native speakers. Okay, class activity timeline. Pre-activity, and I'll give you guys these links later. You have to install Google Assistant on your phone. Some of you probably already have it. And also be ready to open on your browser Google Documents. A blank one would be preferable. And what I do with the students as well is that I teach them the 5 characteristics and the elements of a short story. There's a way that I do this just to get their interest, which I'll be showing you momentarily. The homework that I do give them, though, is I have them write down a 5 to 10 sentence story. For us, we can just go on the fly and speak about a certain story that we remember. But for students, they have to sort of prepare ahead of time. What I do usually tell them is I use a slide similar to this, and I tell them, what are the characteristics of a good story, just to prep them up. I tell them it has compelling characters. I tell them they should follow a basic structure and good rhythm. It has to have your own personality. It has to be a Timmy story. It has to be a Jason or Jose story. It has to have your personality somehow into it. Not all of the students will get this, so it's just better to give them it to them as like maybe a handout. It should include conflicts, plots, and subplots. And the 5th one is have a great beginning, great climax, and satisfying endings. There will be a discussion, of course, during this sometimes. I also show them this video, which is, you guys can view this later on, which is called, What is the Greatest Story Ever Told? I think it's by The Atlantic. And yeah, okay, so afterwards, again, this is sort of pre-activity as well. The elements of a short story. I use graphic organizers, and I need to use them more often. Graphic organizers are an effective tool for visualizing cognitive processes, language in this case. And so I sort of give this to them. Not all of them will be able to fill this out. And it's also a short story, so there's not much to work at. But if they can fill half of these, I'm very satisfied. It also sort of, I tell them to do this, or I tell them to sort of be aware of these things so that when they do the homework, they can say, do I have this? Do I have that? Of course, you can also provide a short story yourself to see if they can do this or not, and whether to see if they understand once you've explained it to them. Okay, so that's the pre-activity. I have to go back. How do I go back? Like warm-up activity. I put them in a breakout room. I give them a list of what they have to say. This list, people might be asking me what this list is. I'll send you guys the links later, and you guys can practice with each other. And I'll also be giving a demonstration. you play around with it basically by taking your phone and saying that word down there. If I say it's going to activate my phone. So the main activity though is I have another breakout session, and then I tell them, whoever their breakout roommate is to use the story that was the homework and try to read it on Google Voice to the Google document. There's a lot of scaffolding and a lot of preparation before this happens, which I'll show you in a minute. But essentially the warm-up activity and the main activity is this right here. After they start reading their stories to each other, what happens is they check for any mistakes and they also discuss about it. Finally, the after activity is the students send the Google document to me to make sure that they've actually done the activity and they weren't sort of just lazying off during the breakout room session time. And I also ask them to sort of reflect on how they can use Google Assistant in their daily lives. Okay, so I'm going to give sort of, if I can, a quick demonstration of it. First off, I'm going to start with Google Assistant, which I sort of have installed on my phone. It's going to be very difficult, I think, to see, but I'm going to say something right now. There's a list of things that I have. If you can, everybody can see me right now. So I'm going to say something right now to my phone, and I have a list here. What do I say? Okay, Google, do you have a heart? Okay, Google, do you have a heart?
I don't have a hollow muscular organ that pumps blood through the circulatory system by rhythmic contraction and dilation. But I do have a lot of heart.
Okay, Google, are you a machine?
I'm a machine with artificial intelligence. I can also learn and get better and more helpful over time.
Okay, so that was, I mean, you have, it depends on how long you want this activity to be, but it really gets the students' interest. They're like, oh, what is this? I can speak to it in English. I've been speaking to it in Japanese this whole time. You can also ask them to sort of fill out what they're saying and, you know, do they actually understand it? You know, or what's the mean? What does it mean? It's not just words, right? So it gets them warmed up to the main activity. And the main activity being that, is the using Google Documents. Now, what I'm going to do right now is click on Google Documents and okay, I have this sample page that's already loaded up. So I'm kind of cheating. It might take more time for some students. What I'm doing right now is I'm clicking on Tools and I'm clicking on voice typing, and then it shows up here, and then you can click on it to speak. I have a list, I have something printed out right now, which I'll also be sending you. And this is something that I got from Reddit. And this is, well, you have to prepare material for your audience. And the audience right now are native speakers. And so I have something on Reddit, and there's this guy that always posts his stories, and they're very short stories. But at every end of the story, he makes sure to include like his punchline, which is basically something about beating his son half to death. Sorry, it's a little dark comedy, but I'm going to read it right now and see if it comes out okay. Thank you, Reddit, for content. Okay. Lions are truly the king of the jungle. They are absolutely beastly, period. We went on a safari to South Africa back in the 1980s before things were as strict as they are now, health and safety wise. I'll never forget the terror of seeing these animals up close, feasting on gazelle fawn, period. We were maybe only 3 kilometers away from this behemoth, lunching away before it scattered into the savannah. My son let off this loud fart and scared the king away. I made sure to whip the living daylights out of him with a set of jumper cables that I'd bought over in a suitcase for that one.
I think when you change the size, you somehow stop.
Oh, I've lost my momentum. And it's going to show up.
Sorry. And now it's got now it's got me on there. Sorry.
That's okay. Where was it? We were maybe only 3 kilometers away from this behemoth, lunching away before it scattered into the savannah. My son let off this loud fart and scared the king away. I made sure to whip the living daylights out of him with a set of jumper cables that I'd bought over in a suitcase for that one. Period. And so this is sort of what the activity is all about. And you can do different things to this activity. You can have one person read one line, the next line is the group mate. So there's a lot of variety that you can do, but what you're doing is you're practicing reading, you're practicing speaking, you're practicing listening, and you're also looking at something. So a lot of things are happening right now in your mind. That in itself is the activity. All right, so going back here to the presentation, I'm good for time. Okay, 2 minutes. I can squeeze this. I can squeeze it in. Okay, so I want you guys, I also teach this sometimes to my student just as an extra thing for the more advanced ones. I say that speech is faster than typing. We found that with speech recognition, the English output rate was 3 times faster than a state-of-the-art miniature smart keyboard. It might be different though from a keyboard. It might be 1.5 times faster, but I just want them to, I want to get their attention, you know, and I play this video by Stanford. I'll send you the PDF later of this presentation. You can click on it and watch this video. For time's sake, I'm going to go ahead and pass by it. I want to do 2 more slides and then we'll get into the activity. The takeaway 1, you can bring this activity for face-to-face conversations. Definitely print out the paper, print out the story. Your phone has Google Documents. You can do it just as easily. Takeaway 2, storytelling is very important for language learning. I hope everybody in the class can get that, because if you learn to love to tell stories in a different language, I think it helps language acquisition so much more easier. Takeaway 3, this has happened mostly to all of us. There will be problems with installing settings, multitasking, everything. Everybody's on different platforms. Everybody has different setups. You have to be patient. I will teach you how to be patient. There are some tips with that. Number 1, use screen caps. The main gist of what you want the students to click on, you can show them that. And then it's sort of self-explanatory from there. Use pictures to explain these things if you need to. Show videos if you have to. One of the problems that I have was at the last part of the activity, you had to share it. Now, sharing the document might seem easy for us, but it's really difficult for some of the students because it's the first time they've done this. There are different settings, right? You can either share it, they can be collaborators, they can be editors, all of that stuff. So if you show a video in their L1 language too, why not? Or you can use subtitles, you know, it helps them. So videos and screen caps. Takeaway activity 4, teacher, I'm tired. Tired is not necessarily bad. A lot of people think that students are tired and that's a bad thing. A lot of my students, when they did this activity, they were tired. They may be tired because I was giving them too much of a load, but most of them were tired because once they got into the activity, they found themselves speaking. And when you speak a lot, that's amazing, because you're actually doing something, and they're tired because they expend energy on something that's productive. Takeaway 5. This is a concept that I'm looking into, and I'm also trying to make some papers about normalization. Some of you are familiar with this. It's basically when technology falls into the background, you don't even realize it's there. We don't even realize right now that we're using computers, and it's helping us so much communicate across distances. In that same regard, if you normalize this type of activity in an academic setting, the novelty of Google Documents will wear out, the novelty of talking to your phone will wear out, and they will engage in even more in-depth thinking, and they'll probably produce even better language. So normalization is something that you can think about. Has it existed before? Of course it has. You have things such as projectors, TVs, all of those things leading to what you use in the classroom. The more normal it becomes for administrators, for you, for the student, the better learning experience occurs. So that's normalization. I have a paper on, there's a paper on that at the end for references. You can check into that. Takeaway 6, for me, a lot of people might have different opinions. The goal is communication, not accuracy, but maybe try to get them at 60%. My pronunciation is iffy already. Their pronunciation might be iffy. So it might take time when they're speaking to produce that language and make sure that it's accurate. But again, just get them going for the activity. It should be fine. Today's breakout room activity and questions. You guys will be, I'll be asking Julia to, no, I'm sorry, I'll be asking Rachel, sorry, to put you guys into breakout rooms. You can do 3 things. You can play around with Google Assistant. You can also do the Google document feature as well. I'll let you guys decide. 3 questions that maybe you can answer. What do you think are the problems with this technology? How will you use it? Any alternative activities that you might suggest? In order to do this, what I'll be doing is I'll be sending you guys a bunch of links right now. And I'll be sending first the breakout room slide right now. And the next thing I'll be sending is this links. If you click on these links, you should be able, it has everything. Basically what it has is, let me show that real quick for you guys. What it has for you is, if you want, you can install it on your Android or Apple phone. And then if you click on this one, it shows you what you can tell Google. And the advanced one is what you can say for more advanced beginners, advanced speakers. The other activity, of course, is Google Documents. If you haven't installed that, the stories that I was reading a while ago, you can click on that as well, or you can just read your own story. So there you go. I'm going to stop sharing that screen. I think.
Can I ask you how many rooms you would like? We have about 30 participants.
We're at 30? Whoa. Okay. I'm super nervous now. It's good that that wasn't mentioned to me before.
That's including, you know, all of us, all of the presenters, and so there's probably about 25. I'm not sure if the co-hosts automatically go into the break rooms or not.
Let's put them in groups of, we still have about 12 minutes. I hope they can get a lot out of them, but open the PDF and I can also post what I just sent as well. And here you go. If you can guys save that. Okay, can you put them in groups of 3?
Yeah. Yep, 3 to 4 participants.
All right, guys, please join those breakout rooms. Have fun, and if I wasn't clear, I apologize. But you could just, yeah, it's all in the JPEG, so hopefully it makes sense.
All right, thank you, Timmy. I'm gonna send everybody out.
All right. I pressed the wrong button.
Well, like you're no longer in the breakout rooms, or I saw that you were automatically assigned to one, but.
Thanks, Rachel. No. How did I do? Was it okay? What did I?
Yeah.
Did I pay? Okay.
I mean, I think we were a little bit rushed. I don't know. Even though we're 10 minutes ahead of schedule, I don't know why you were like rushing through things.
Oh, I was thinking to just get them in, like doing it and just playing around with it. I wanted them to give them a lot of time to play around with it.
Yeah. Well, we are ahead of schedule. So.
I did have some more time, so maybe 3 minutes into it, what I may do is just try to explain to them like the other things that I would like to research more about, and also possibly like references that I used and if they wanted to get the files. So maybe I'll tell you when you can end the breakout room earlier, I guess, within 7 minutes.
Wait,
Yeah.
one second. I was asking me for the Zoom link.
But hopefully like 10 minutes is enough to get them, because I had sort of like a big load on them. It's like they have to ask these questions to themselves and they have to talk. My experience with like these breakout rooms is like when the talk gets a lot and it's like, boo, that they close it. So I hope I made enough allowance for it.
Well, it's good. I'm really glad that you actually posted the links directly, because sometimes when you share files on Zoom, people can't open them. So I was happy that you did it directly into the chat, because
a lot of people are sort of, and we're still recording, so that we're so
oh yeah.
A lot of
question. Did you want me to record some of the breakout rooms or no?
No, it's fine, Rachel. No. What were we talking about? But yeah, like I just want to try to cover as many bases as possible. So that's why I had the PDF and the links as well pasted.
do you have family who were coming to see you?
Yeah, I was like, they were like lining me, and I was like, yeah, join it, come on, decrease.
Yeah, so I figured as much because I was somebody with the last name. I was like, I assume you're here for Jimmy.
Hey Julia, Rachel, do you mind sending them something? I don't have host privileges. I sort of want to send them like a message on how to actually activate the.
Well, here I can send you.
Okay.
I can make you host. You just have to make me host right after you're done with your presentation.
Thank you.
You are host now, so
Have fun.
Dave, come back.
To access the mic.
But now that you're host, you can go in and out of the breakout rooms yourself. Too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ask the mic on Google Docs. Click Google voice typing. No, I'm sort of paranoid. I don't want to sort of see what. Hopefully, everybody's engaging in good conversation.
Quick tools.
I sort of don't want to see if they're like I don't know what they. I don't want to like.
But
It's scary.
check them out to see if they are struggling, just in case.
You're right. I'm enjoying something.
Yeah.
Julian's by himself. Should I join that?
Oh, is he all by himself? Oh, I guess maybe Dave and Julia. Well, yeah, you have the controls of all the breakout rooms, so.
Were they set up in groups of 3 or 4? Mostly 3.
3 and 4. So there wasn't an even number, so. Anytime before you do anything, can you make me co-host, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you. I realized that when I gave up my host privileges, I lost all the privileges. Because there might be some people coming in. Thank you.
Hey, okay. I noticed there were 2 of the rooms that didn't have people in them.
Okay.
But
well, now Timmy is the host, so I can't do anything right now.
Well, I just wouldn't know. I mean, as a participant, I could move. Julia said that in room 7 she was there and she talked and the other person didn't say anything, so she left and joined the room I was in. And I just went and checked on room 5, and whatchamacallit, the person, there's video off, mic off, and so I thought that was fine.
Was it Julian?
Maybe.
So
let me look.
Oh gosh, so I've been monitoring the chat and so many people have been talking to me at the same time. I forgot to get back to Julian. Julian wanted the passcode to the event because he couldn't participate. Like he could only hear us. He couldn't.
Okay.
It was something to do with the device that he was on, and so that didn't allow him to.
Mm-hmm.
No, I totally didn't. Yep. Hi, Dave and Alex. I'm guessing people might have left your group, and so you've come back, maybe. Yeah.
And actually, I'm gonna sorry. And then I just realized I was getting like alerts, and I think I was just trying to change my own settings so that when it was my presentation. I wasn't like getting I wasn't getting all these alerts like on the whatever.
Well, Tim is gone, bouncing around from room to room right now. I give him host privileges.
Okay,
Um,
that's good.
but now I can't go back to Julie and Guy because I'm not a host anymore. But yeah, there were so many people messaging me, privately that it was really
Okay.
hard to keep track of who all I was talking to.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Hi, Dave. That's okay. Learning how to use Zoom is hard, especially if you're not using it in your classes right now.
So Alan, I just let Alan in.
Yeah. Hey, Alan. So you just joined, but so everybody's in breakout rooms right now. So the host or the presenter, sorry, he's bouncing around from breakout room to breakout room. So, but I'm happy to share with you the links to his presentation.
So you just let me in. I'm sorry, I'm thinking, want to thank whoever it was that let me in on there. That was Rachel.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So what actually happened on that, for for future reference, it was a see more that the Zoom link wasn't exposed yet. So I had to click on the see more under that link.
That's so weird because on my end, it's just, about in discussion.
Oh, there.
Maybe it looks differently on a cell phone, but you were using your PC, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us today. My name's Rachel.
I only just saw the link like 3 minutes before and saw it. I thought, oh, okay, it started a while ago, so it's too late to join. But then I saw that it was various presenters.
Yep.
And it was starting at 2:20. So it's 2:22 when I noticed and tried to do something.
Yeah. And actually, we're a little bit ahead of schedule because our first presenter went a little bit faster than we expected. So
Okay.
we're actually nearing the end of the second presentation, but we have 3 more presenters, Sarah, Catherine, and myself. So you still have 3 more presentations you can.
Okay. Good.
I don't know when Tim is supposed to be back, but he said that he wanted to give everybody about 10 minutes or so to experiment. If you want, I can send you, or you can join
That's
the
all right.
breakout room.
That's all right. So when do you think this one is going to finish then?
So like I said, the host is bouncing around right now, so I can't even ask him because I now have only co-host privileges.
That's fine. So
But,
what are you what's the word, playing hooky and not in breakout room for?
So I'm the event planner actually. So I'm here to let people like you in and everybody else. So and to monitor, making sure everybody's muted and whatnot. So
Okay.
I'm
So
a
then,
speaker, but I'm also the event organizer as well.
okay. So everyone will be coming back to the main room at some point then.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Then
would assume soon.
I'm just gonna mute me, and when things come back. So you were probably having a nice little chat there without me.
No, it's totally fine. It's totally
All
fine.
right.
We have some other participants coming in right now. It's totally fine. You can hang around. The presenter is just bouncing around between the breakout rooms right now just to make sure that everybody understands what they're doing. So he should be back very soon.
Okay.
Because let me check the schedule really quickly. Because I think we now might be back on time. So he technically he should be back very soon if he wants to if he wants to answer questions, because he only has until 2:50, and then our next presentation Sarah, she will start at 3. So I wish there was a way. So I gave him host privileges so that he could kind of do what he wants, but now I'm a co-host and I have very limited power.
Right, that's okay.
I can't bring him back. So, so I'm just here.
Okay.
Let me see. Hey, Catherine, would you be able to go to whatever room that he's in and I don't know.
Oh, that Timmy's in?
That Timmy's in and kind of bring him back.
Yeah.
Or tell him that he only has
Okay, I'm on it.
10
I'm
more
on it.
minutes to answer questions and whatnot. Yeah. Thank you. Fantastic. Hi, Mai, if that's how I pronounce your name. Welcome. So we're in the middle of a presentation right now, but the presenter currently has all of the participants in a breakout room, and they're doing the activity together.
Time it will start.
The next presentation will start at 3 o'clock.
Or 3 o'clock. So now what? It's only 4 people here.
So all of these people just came, like you. There are about 30 more who are in breakout rooms right now. Yes, the presenter is currently bouncing around from breakout room to breakout room, helping everybody with activities. So if you would like to join the breakout room, you can, but we only have a few more minutes left of
The breakout rooms are all closing. Everyone's coming back.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, welcome.
Hey.
I guess I should say, I shouldn't be the one saying welcome. I just joined, so I should be saying, hey, I'm back.
Welcome to people who have joined recent.
So apparently those that type with your voice thing only works if you have Google Chrome.
It only works if you have Google Chrome?
That's correct, because it wasn't available to me and I use Safari.
Oh.
You don't use Chrome at all, Jason?
Well,
I'm shook.
I got a new Mac and I've been giving Safari a good old shakedown. I wanted to see what it's like to use Safari, and I'm kind of liking it. So I do use Chrome, but not on this computer. So, but you know, some people might not use Chrome, and that's something that they should know about. I mean, people that use, what is it? What's the other one? Welcome back.
Can you make me host again, please?
Sure. I'm making you host now.
Thank you.
So,
I was like, I can't do anything. I wanted to get you back, but to tell you that
I have some time, I think, left for questions, and I apologize because going back to my takeaway number 3, like there's a lot of bumps with like the settings and everything, but hopefully people were able to talk about how to use it in their classroom and at least use Google Assistant to some extent, I guess. But the way I do it with this is that I usually make sure that everybody is on Google Chrome, because apparently this only works on Google Chrome. I'll show it to you one more time. Oh, could you enable the sharing? Oh yeah. But, wait one minute. But I wanted to show everybody, this is me going back to not scaffolding properly, and sort of like what I do is have students get their Google documents ready. And Sarah mentioned something interesting, which is this activity works much better on your mobile devices than your computer. I go here to the tools part and it says voice typing. That is not actually available immediately for, I guess, Microsoft Edge and Safari. So I have to apologize for that, because I automatically assume that some students or the people that attended today have Google Chrome. I should have made that more clear. But I have a lot of other information here that I will also include, like the references, and I guess I still have time for some questions. So if anybody has questions, I sped through it too quickly, mainly because I wanted to give more time for you guys to just talk about the technology, because based on my experience there on my last sessions that I joined, people didn't have enough time to talk. So anyway, if you have any questions, please ask away. If not, it's also good.
Feel free to type in your questions, or to you can actually raise your hand too, and you can ask them that way.
Yeah, I have a question.
There.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Ramon or Barry, I guess who
Yeah, go ahead, Ramon.
Hey
Okay.
Ramon, go for it.
So I was wondering, you mentioned that you're interested in graphic organizers, and perhaps that's related to storyboards. Instead of using Google Docs, have you tried using voice typing on Google Slides?
That's actually, I think, a lot of other people have done that as well. I haven't experimented with it as much, but it's a variation of the activity, I guess, that you could do. Has it been much more? Have you had more success with it?
Yeah, I mean, for me, using Google Slides, it kind of sets a couple of boundaries.
Right.
If you want to use one slide for just like the setting, they could all collaborate and brainstorm on the first slide and then move on to the next slide. So it kind of gives you
Sure.
freedom with a bit of limitation.
That's actually a very good point. Like you sort of still have the activity within the confines of what you want it to be. And yeah, it's much more basic that way. Yeah. And I think it has the audio feature there as well too, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
Yeah, yeah. But is that audio feature again only for Google Chrome?
I don't use anything but Google Chrome, so I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. That was something that was my bad. But hopefully, thank you for the suggestion, Ramon. Barry?
Yes, I had a question about the, I was trying to use Google Assistant and Google Docs at the same time on my iPhone.
Yeah.
I opened both, and then I opened in the Google Docs, I made a new document.
Okay.
And then there's, I didn't actually try to say, it's not Hey Google, what is it?
Okay, Google.
Okay, Google, yeah, I didn't try that, but there's a microphone at the bottom right corner.
Here's some results.
And when I pressed the microphone at the bottom right corner and I said stuff, it actually started dictating what I was saying.
That's a good, yeah. Oh, that's nice. Okay.
But I wasn't sure whether that's the Google Assistant or that's my Siri doing that.
There's a lot of sort of things that you have to sort of housekeep before you conduct this activity just using the mobile phone. But because, and it's more difficult to actually multitask with a phone because you have to, unless you split screen, I guess. But Google Assistant really, sometimes a lot of people have it automatically installed, but then some other people have to install it. What I tend to do is I make sure that the warm-up activity is just with Google Assistant, and I print out what they have to say to it, so that gets them going. And then for the main activity itself, I then ask them to turn off the Google Assistant and make sure that Google Docs is open for them. And from there, they can either use, from there, the activity changes because they don't have to click on the voice typing. What they can do is they can use their keyboard's voice microphone, and from there text comes out. And some people,
and I think that's what I did. Yeah, I think that's what happened with me, but I wasn't sure because it's the first time for me to use that.
right.
I wasn't sure whether what that was, but it was working, so it was okay. Yeah.
So hopefully there was some good out of the activity. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it definitely gave me some good ideas. I was talking with Ramon and Vicky, and so we were talking. I sometimes give them things to look up using Google in class, and I hadn't thought of using the speaking component to dictate what they want to say to look up. Yeah. I would just have them write it in text, but now I can use it for speaking. I can have them speak into that to see if the software understands, recognizes their speech or not. So it's good. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
On a micro level, like when you really get into it, there's a lot of smaller activities that you can break it up into, and it's really fascinating where this technology takes you to. I've been talking to other teachers as well, and there have also been differences in how it recognizes Japanese pronunciation when it comes out to English. And so the minutiae, the details of that would probably be, I think Google comes out second in recognizing it better, and number one is Alexa. And the last one, Siri actually has a problem with Japanese speakers speaking English, but this is more anecdotal than anything, but it really depends on what your students are comfortable with or what you're comfortable having them use in terms of voice. But it's really, really fun if once the students are really into it, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. It's an option that I hadn't thought of. So it's good. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely try it out. Thank you.
Thank you.
You have some comments from Dave Nurneg and Julia Christmas. If you go up on the chat a little bit higher.
I would like to know about your teaching context to understand more about your presentation. When you say context, it's like getting the gist of what the short story is. And in that, is that what you were referring to, Dave?
I think he means your teaching context, like what level students you teach and what.
Right.
And whatnot.
Lower, I've taught maybe early intermediate to high beginners when it comes to this stuff. And so it's been successful for them, but basic, like when we're talking like beginner students, I tend to not use this activity. They do have to have like a fundamental idea of like how to make sentences, but I would say that you could try to challenge some of your beginner students for this and you'd be surprised because they really get into their technology. And if their pronunciation is wrong, they want to make an effort to correct their pronunciation. So if anything, if they can't make the entire sentences, just getting them to use the technology, I think is a good secondary goal to have. But yeah. I hope I answered that question, but basically late beginner to early intermediate. And of course, there's certain ways that you have to sort of make it easier for those beginners and you can sort of take more time in scaffolding or explaining it to them. And like I said, you have to know who your audience is. And so if the short stories that are too much, you may have to grade it like lower, give them something easier to work at. So yes, thank you, Dave. And
you have a question here. Do you want to unmute yourself and ask it? Because you're the only one with the question there. So go for it.
Are we still good with time? Okay.
Yeah, we got some time.
Okay. Yeah, we'll be starting our next presentation right at 3. So I would start finishing up soon.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks for helping on the time. Okay.
Am I good then?
Yep.
Okay, I didn't want to be the last question. I don't want to end this on a downer or anything, Timmy. I thought that was a good presentation and certainly useful information. However, because this is something that I think about, and I ended up talking about it in the breakout rooms with Alistair and Angela, watching like amazing software like this, and then when you came in and asked about what about Safari, it reminded me about a concern that I have when a company like Google comes out with amazing technology, amazing software, and then ties it into their platform so that then you have yet another incentive to put yourself into their Chrome ecosystem or to put yourself into their Google ecosystem so that then Chrome can quite literally start watching you a lot better than it could if you weren't using Chrome. And I was kind of wondering what your thoughts were, what your comment would be if I was to bring up the topic of corporate creep into language education or education in general, when Microsoft was very successful with doing this. And now that's why people don't pass around PDFs as much as they pass around Word documents, because everybody's locked into Word as the de facto word processor, which it never needed to be. And if we start using Google a lot more, just because it's just amazing technology, are we locking ourselves into a Google-centered sort of classroom scenario? Just wondering what your thoughts were on that.
I think that's a really interesting question. And there's a lot of also moral issues in that as well in terms of ethics. I think in terms of technology, we're just following the tools that we have and the tools that we're comfortable with. I don't necessarily feel that I'm locked into the ecosystem because I think everybody has their own preference. Like there's the Windows ecosystem, there's the Google ecosystem. People have their Apple fans, and I think a general respect for all of those would be beneficial. It does get in the way of learning, as we could see right now with what's happened here. But as long, and this is a very basic answer to it, as long as people aren't really using it for like bad means, I guess, like if your intentions are good, I see no way not to embrace this because it's free and I guess that's one way of also getting them to use it. But for me, it's been very helpful more than the potential, it outweighs the potential cost or negative aspect, I guess, is how it's a very simple way to look at things, but that's how I sort of view it. Like privacy, though, it really depends on, there might be issues with that for some students, but there will always be issues like this. Again, like I trend to, at some point in time, everybody will be a villain in the technology field. Like everybody hated Netscape before everybody hated Microsoft, but there's always ups and downs to these. At some point, I'm pretty sure that they're going to make Mark Zuckerberg a saint after 50 years, but it's just the narrative always changes. And it really, for me, I don't consider that part of the teaching experience, or it's something to be aware of, but it's not the everything to it. So that was but it's a very awesome philosophical thing to get into, and it's something that people should know about.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, I think we're getting close to the next presentation timeline, so I want to thank Timmy for his wonderful presentation. I just wanted to add a quick comment that it's true that technology is with us now, and it brings a lot of blessings and it brings some curses too. And I guess just something we're going to have to wrap our heads around as we incorporate it into the classroom, especially in Japan, where sometimes that can be more difficult than it needs to be. So thank you very much for your presentation, Timmy. I'm going to give a big hand there.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.